So the other day, Trump said on Truth Social that I'm going to do it. I'm going to prove once and for all that the election was stolen from me, your favorite president, better than Lincoln, better than Washington. He did this whole song and dance over on Truth Social saying, that's it. I got a report. It's a conclusive report. I think he said it's like 100 pages or something like that. And I will unveil it, and then all the charges must be dropped because this is no longer debatable. I won the election. And I was enjoying his tweet storm over there because I want, go ahead. I want to see what you got, dog. Let me see what you got. It's guaranteed to be funny. It's guaranteed to be hilarious. It's guaranteed to be sourced from like Dinesh D'Souza's 2,000 Mules and the Gateway Pundit and far right-wing blogs run by psychopaths on antipsychotic medication. So I was like, hey, I'm your Huckleberry. Let me see all this. I would love to see it so that I can go line for line and break it all down and have a grand old time giggling and laughing and being jolly about how stupid it is and about how ineffectual his fight back is. So anyway, Fox News was entertaining this idea, and they were entertaining it seriously. Listen to this. This is hilarious.
So this 100-page report that's going to come out on Monday, the former president's going to drop it out at Bedminster, which is his golf resort just to the west of New York City. And the question is, what's going to be in it? Well, apparently it was, and this is according to the New York Times this morning, compiled at least in part by a woman by the name of Liz Harrington. And she has been one of his communications staff members. And apparently the document focuses on voting anomalies in the state of Georgia. And Ms. Harrington has been on X, formerly known as Twitter, and said, kind of given us a preview, it said, Georgia has been among the most corrupt elections in the country, and they haven't gotten any better since 2020. They've gotten worse. Tune in Monday.
And he said on Truth Social, Donald Trump, they never went after those that rigged the election. They only went after those that fought to find the riggers. Right. And in this indictment in Georgia, in all these indictments, it allows him to have discovery. So his lawyers will have discovery and will find out information. And I heard this morning, Brian, an attorney said, I think it was on Fox and Friends First, was saying the best argument he has is to tell the truth. And if he finds out that something did happen in the election, then he would have proof. And then maybe he could exonerate himself. What he has, we don't know. We'll find out on Monday morning at 11 o'clock.
Except you won't, because he didn't release Dickie McGee's acts. Okay, here we go. So Trump comes out, Truth Social. Rather than releasing the report on the rigged and stolen Georgia 2020 presidential election on Monday, my lawyers would prefer putting this, I believe, irrefutable and overwhelming evidence of election fraud and irregularities in formal legal filings as we fight to dismiss this disgraceful indictment by a publicity and campaign finance-seeking DA who sadly presides over record-breaking murder and violent crime area, Atlanta. Therefore, the news conference is no longer necessary. Going after Fani Willis because she's not being tough enough on violent crime is literally the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Every article I've read about her is the exact opposite. She's aggressively going after violent crime and gangs in particular. Okay, so he just completely and utterly and shamelessly and ruthlessly just makes shit up. Just right out of his ass. Just a terrible Atlanta, weak on crime, record-breaking murder, violent crime, not doing her job. Except that's all she does is her job. There's probably left-wing critiques of her about how, hey man, you know, maybe you're going a little too hard in this area. So, unbelievable. But here he is saying, oh, I'm not going to release it. I'm actually not going to release it. Now, why is he not releasing it? I have no doubt that his lawyers absolutely, positively begged and pleaded and were like, for the love of God, don't do this. He's lost like 100 freaking lawyers. Why? Because he doesn't listen to them. I'm sure all of them have been like, for the love of God, stop tweeting, stop saying shit, stop doing witness intimidation, stop obstructing justice. Can you just www.shuddy.com for the love of God? And he doesn't listen. He never listens. So now, by the way, you have some of his former lawyers like Ty Cobb. I know, hilarious name, because that's a baseball player. He came out and he's like, oh yeah, he's going down on the, Ty Cobb said specifically the classified documents case that Trump is dunzo on that one. That like, that's an open and shut type deal. But he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen to them. So this is the first time he actually has listened to them. But what's so funny is that he says, we are going to submit this in formal legal filings instead. So clearly, the lawyers were like, stop, no, don't do any of this. That report is trash. It's bogus. Get it out of here. They're going to pick it apart like there's no tomorrow. And they were only able to talk him down to, all right, fine, submit it as a formal legal filing. But it's eventually, we're going to see it, and it's going to be laughed out of town. Oh, I can't wait for this thing to be released, man. I can't, because you got to understand something, guys. Literally all of the talking points that they use, fraudulent election, rigged election, actually there were 300,000 people who were dead who voted. Actually, they were. All of these things are bogus. They've been debunked. They've been debunked and mocked and laughed at ruthlessly. One of these things was in the Jack Smith report. It was like, or his indictment. It said like they claimed X number of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dead people voted in state X. And they were like, upon investigation, we learned it was something like 6. Which, by the way, is more than I expected, right? Like, I thought there were literally 0, because they've done reports on election fraud previously, detailed studies on it, and they find that it's super duper duper rare to be nearly non-existent. But they were like, okay, look, fair enough, we found like 6 cases of it. They said it was tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. And so I have no doubt this report is comical. This report is like One America News level garbage. I'm sure in this report, it might come. We're probably going to have another Dominion or Smartmatic lawsuit that comes as a result of this, because yet again, you're slandering them. You're libeling them. Sidney Powell said like Hugo Chavez in Venezuela tried to throw the election at Joe Biden. So many of these cases that Smartmatic and Dominion filed, they're like winning them. And that's so hard to prove libel or slander defamation, but the claims are so absurd that it is defaming them effectively, and that they're winning some of these cases, or they're settling and getting a lot of money as a result of it, more money than they could ever imagine. And I'm sure that this report is a laughingstock, and his lawyers are smart enough to know it, and they're begging him, get rid of this thing. And he's like, fine, I'll agree to submit it. I'll agree to submit it in formal legal filings. Okay, great. So that'll be hilarious when we eventually see it anyway. And it's full of just total fucking charlatan garbage, utterly made up by some right-wing blogger named Based Groper 1488, or Based Groiper 1488, not Groper, Groiper 1488. I love this. Look, it's a point that many people keep coming back to, including myself. Okay, you're going to be in court on trial over a lot of these rigged election things. Well, let's go. Let's see what you got. Go ahead. Oh, prove the election was rigged. Go ahead, big guy. You're in a court of law. Prove it was rigged. My guess is this is going to go just like the other over 60 court cases that he lost, where even not just Republican judges, Trump-appointed judges laughed this stuff out of the courtroom. I really wish he did release it, but for once he listened to his lawyers. But we're still going to eventually see it, and it is going to be hilarious. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.